Live, Cal. There you go. We are live, back in the saddle with the 50 Shades of what, Colin?
50 Shades of Quarantine, baby.
So quarantine.
This is where we are interviewing 50 of the biggest and the brightest, the smartest in the industry, not just the real estate industry, but just in the different professions, just to find out how they're coping with the COVID-19 crisis. What are some of words of advice, wisdoms that they can give to us so that we can manage this in our lives?
Wow, that was impressive. We should probably invite our guest on the show.
So with that being said, we have the infamous Kelly Manateas on the show today, sitting in the hot seat. Kelly, give us a quick 30 seconds bio of who you are and why you're sitting with us today.
Oh, wow. Only 30 seconds? Okay. Owner and founder of Integrative Coaching Solutions. Prior to that, was a MAPS coach for 5 years. Been in real estate 19 years now. And officially today is my birthday. That's how I know it's 19 years.
Happy birthday.
We'll save the singing till later.
Yes.
Yeah, much later. Much later. So Kelly, you've seen many parts of the real estate industry. We know each other back a long way. For every you used to take the phone calls to booking appointments, working with agents to help manage offices, and now you entered into coaching, and now you've gone on your own and built your coaching platform and your coaching business. What are some of the things that you're hearing from, say, some of your coaching clients on what the heck is going on out there in the real world at the moment?
Well, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because you never know what type of conversation you're going to get into when you call a client. I mean, you could be on one side of the world is ending and I don't know what to do, to the other side of this is a huge opportunity and how do I take advantage? Right. So it's a wide spectrum. And I would say, really it's dependent on where they are in their mindset and also the foundation they had in their business prior to this happening. Because the stronger their foundation, the stronger the pivot. So it's really showing either a well-built foundation or a lot of cracks are showing up. And that really dictates the conversation.
Awesome. I think.
Which is great in both ways, right? How do you feel the cracks if you don't know they're there?
Yeah.
So in a way, it's a great opportunity to look at what you've built and re-examine what's really working and what isn't.
But at the same time, wouldn't we, because there are different levels for everyone, and for those who are very structured in building systems and so on, there are times when we need to just go back and reevaluate those systems and look for holes in those systems. So for someone who might have had a great system, let's say 6 months ago, would you encourage that person today to go back and reevaluate those same systems?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, most of us don't naturally like looking for holes. Right? Like we want to keep moving thinking everything's going great. And it's usually a massive event that causes a crack to show up. And I'm always of the standpoint, if we're not breaking our systems, we're not growing quick enough. And in a way, what we're experiencing right now as a society is forcing everybody to look, regardless if they want to or not, because it's entirely shifted the way that we do business. And I was listening to Andre's session and I absolutely loved it when he said, it's business as usual. We're just doing business unusually, which is absolutely true.
Yeah, that was my line. I give him that.
And a little shout out from Lori for your birthday there, Cal.
Oh, thank you.
Perfect. So that's interesting. Obviously, there's that whole saying when the tide goes out, this is the moment where you get to see who has their big boy pants on and who doesn't have their pants on type thing.
Yeah.
Are you seeing a common thread with some of your clients on what those holes are? Are we seeing the same holes from person to person, or is it really different from each individual?
It's different, right? I mean, ones that have built a business that has been primarily online lead generation, there wasn't a lot of pivoting that was required other than, around the listings. But for somebody else who, let's say, is an avid cold caller, right? In a place where cold calling is actually not allowed right now, that's a huge disruption. Right. And looking at pivoting and creating a business through a different lead generation model. That normally doesn't happen very quickly. And yet the environment we're in is requiring us to do it quickly.
Yeah.
So, it's different throughout. I would say if I were to pick a theme, I would say it's not in the systems, it's in the mindset.
So now, with that being said, Kelly, someone who has built a solid business on door knocking. They've door knocked, their entire life or their real estate career. Now, in a situation like this, you'll find it strange for someone to even come at your door to offer you anything or ask if you're considering buying or selling. How would you encourage that person now to pivot? And what are some of some points that we can give that particular individual or agents like that to start doing right now?
Well, I mean, right now, the majority of us are limited to online, right? Look what we're doing. We're online having a discussion. And door knockers love building relationships. They love that physical contact. They love to be able to see the body language, the tonality, all aspects of communication. So I would say go online and create the same environment. I mean, as you're door knocking, you're creating the influence of being the local expert, right? People see you and automatically think, because they see you on a consistent basis, that you're that expert in that area. So do the same thing online. Create community pages for the neighborhoods that you used to door knock. Start creating an online voice where you can still communicate and get almost all of the aspects of communication. You can still see some body language in that and build relationships that way so that you're still continuing your influence, so that when you do get back into a physical location, there was no interruption. Right? Because there are a lot of people right now creating online influences, even you guys, right? You're an online influence now. So be that person and create ways where you can still influence your communities online and also become the resource or the connector of resources for your communities online.
Brilliant. Love that.
I think that last comment is one that I believe is often overlooked, being the connector, because a lot of people know a lot of people, but they don't necessarily know how to connect them. How do people leverage that a little bit better? What have you seen that has worked well in the past?
Well, what's interesting is we're actually pretty good at it in a realm that we're familiar with. If we were to look at real estate, we're great at connecting. We all have a mortgage person. We all have a lawyer. We all have a home inspector. We all have a stager, right? A handyman. We have all of these connections based on the business. But yet what we're in right now is not a business pivot. It's a life reset. So our toolbox no longer can just contain our business resources. It has to retain our life resources. And I know a lot of us are contacting our databases right now to check in on them, make sure they're okay, seeing if there's anything we can provide. I would imagine you have a lot of life resources inside of your database. And if you just documented that as you were having those conversations, you can then build out your toolbox. But it doesn't become a toolbox if you're not documenting it, if you're not intentional about finding the life resources that you can connect people to.
Interesting.
Okay, so let's shift the conversation a little bit here. From some people have been home for 2 days, some people have been home working from home in a house filled of 5 or 6 people for 2-3 weeks now.
Yep.
How do you help protect your space, your mindset, and then And then the flip side is when is it work time and when is it fun family time? Like, are you seeing, and we're all experiencing that. So I'd love to get your 2 cents on it.
Yeah, well, coming from a place of being quarantined for 14 days because we were waiting for results, we didn't even have the opportunity to go for a walk and get fresh air. So we really were in tight quarters for an extended period of time. And I think, the first thing that comes to mind is the schedule. Creating a schedule that allows a specific flow to your day, which includes the things that give you energy, the things that give your family energy, and the things that give your business energy. So creating that schedule as a unit is going to be important because most of us are used to being able to leave the home to do things that might give us energy, right? Going to the gym to work out. For me, it's getting my hair done, right? That's me time that gives me energy. And we're not able to do that right now. So we have to create buy-in in the family unit of saying, okay, this is the time that I get to do things that give me energy so that when we're together, I have energy to give, right? Because Diana always teaches us you can't give what
you don't have. Yep.
Yeah. So you've got to create that buy-in as a unit. And it's not just for you, it's also for your spouse or significant another, even your kids, right? They're not used to being around you all the time, right? And some of them are bouncing off the walls because they don't have an outlet. So creating their time as well, right? And everyone gets that carved out period in the day that allows them to have the energy in order to sustain and increase the energy as a unit. That would be the first thing. And secondly, Colin and I were talking yesterday, and we were saying that we've been hearing a lot of people are overwhelmed, right? We have all this time in our hands now, and then we have all these things that are going on, right? We've got webinars going on every single hour of every single day, and how do you spend time learning in that and still also keep your business going? And oh, by the way, keep your family going. And oh, by the way, keep your sanity going, right? So with that, I would say focus in on what's most important. You started this year with a goal. That hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is that we're flexible now in how we're going to achieve that goal. So when you're looking at all the things you can do, use your goal as the filter. You don't need to learn everything. You need to learn what's most important and applicable to your goal. And you use that as a defining filter in everything you do. And then it's no longer overwhelm. It's clarity. It's focus. And that helps the mindset at all levels.
So I hear you. The goal hasn't changed. Stick to the plan.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening at home. There's a lot happening on the news and social media. You are my coach, Kelly. What 3 things I can do today that can put my cars back on track?
Is it really getting your cars back on track, or is it building the new track for your cars?
Okay.
And the reason I say that is because most of us are trying to get things back on track.
Yeah.
We're trying to get things back to normal. Yeah. And there is no more back to normal. We've pivoted as a society. Yeah. We are all in this global experience, and we're all outside of our comfort zone creating new things. So instead of trying to get something back to the way it was, look at what is and choose what will remain and build a new path based on that clarity and that purpose.
Okay.
So if I was your coach, the first thing I would look at is, okay, before this happened, what was our goal and where were we? What kind of pivot do we need to make in order to continue working towards that goal? And create 3 ways that we can actually hit that goal based on our current environment and also in our future environment. Because I truly believe the way we've pivoted business, there's a lot of it that's going to remain the way it is right now. I mean, I'm talking to a lot of people doing online listing appointments, and they're like, wow, I got that done in 20 minutes. Normally it takes me an hour and a half if I'm sitting in.
And if you can also include drive time, it's going to take much longer.
Yeah.
Right.
All of a sudden they're more productive. They're more effective. And all the things that they had on the honey to-do list, which by the way, still occurs in business, except it's a different honey telling you what to do. It's now you have more time to focus on those things that will move your business forward at a quicker rate instead of hiding behind the list because we didn't have enough time.
So now you're saying the goals I had at the beginning of this year hasn't changed.
Nope.
If I'm committed to my goal, obviously hasn't changed.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there are agents or businesses who are looking and say, well, when I planned for 2020, COVID was never a part of this. So let me readjust my goal to account for COVID or account for a second and third quarter being lost. What is your message there to them?
Well, I'm a pretty straightforward to the point type coach. So I will always say that the goal never changes. How we get there is where the flexibility shows up.
Okay.
So if the goal was important to you, if you were 100% committed to that goal and there was no option to not hit that goal, a bump in the road doesn't create an option. It just creates a detour.
Yep.
You nailed it. That's the part that I'm seeing as I'm talking to many people just like you are, is they have this goal and they're frustrated they can't get there. Well, they can get there. They just got to, use that track analogy, just turn the steering wheel a little bit or a lot of it in some cases to take a new route there, right? And
sorry to cut you there, but let's look at it as even the analogy of a car. We're driving a car to the office. If the road is shut down and you get there, the GPS didn't pick it up. The GPS is going to recalculate. The GPS is going to no longer say, well, we wanted to get you to the office. Forget about it. Let's just go hang out to Tim Hortons now. It's going to recalculate and get you to your destination. So what Kelly's basically saying, we just need to recalculate.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's all it is.
A roadblock here called COVID.
Yeah.
Recalculate.
I mean, stop treating it as if it's a write-off and start treating it as a reset.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is.
Like that. Yeah.
Me too. I like when we get into phone calls or calls like this, where we just kind of sit back. We're like, yeah, I think I'm being coached a little bit right now. And we kind of go internal. So thanks, Cal.
Doesn't that normally happen when we get together?
I know, right? Where somebody will say something, we're like, dang, that's right. I love it.
Quality of a great coach. Like at the end of that conversation, whichever conversation you're having with your coach, you should always leave that they're constantly pouring into you and you're challenging your thinking. If you were to come on here and didn't challenge our thinking personally, you wouldn't have been doing your job as a friend, someone in our circle, and as a coach. So I continue to thank you for constantly pushing us.
Of course. I don't think it could be any other way. It's part of my DNA.
Yes. Take it away.
We know.
We've experienced it many times.
It's all good. It's all good. So, Kel, what over the last couple of weeks? I mean, you've had a really unique journey over the last couple of weeks. But what are some of the things that have come to the forefront that perhaps has surprised you? Maybe, whether it's about yourself or people that you're working with, your family. What are some of those things that have really surprised you to be, for the good?
I don't know if it was a surprise, more as a validation. I mean, not being able to leave the house to go grocery shopping or anything like that. It was very quick to validate how I'm surrounded by amazing people that consistently would check in on us and take care of us and drop off what we needed. And it's interesting, right? Because I'm starting to see people fall into a pattern. Like when you go into a clothing store, what normally happens?
Yeah, may I help you? Are you looking for something?
Yeah. And what's normally our response?
No, I'm
No,
good.
it's
Just looking,
okay.
just browsing.
Yeah. That's actually happening as a society because there's so many of us offering help. And in a lot of ways, it's difficult for us to accept help. Right. So we're starting to see this candid response. No, I'm okay. No, I'm okay. And in some ways, even with us, it was initially like that. And then finally it was like, okay, we actually do need help. Let's be okay. There's not a judgment when you're asking for help, and it was amazing to see how many people popped in with that. And I would also say probably a surprising thing. I think my husband should have been a teacher because he's
Oh, yeah?
really stepped up with the kids.
Cool.
That's good.
Yeah. Which is total opposite of what he normally does, right? But he's been pretty good at it. Definitely better than me, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
We found in our household a couple of our kids listen better or take instruction better from one parent than the other. So it depends what the task is, right? For
Yep.
us, for sure. It's all good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially in a family unit, you're going to identify a lot of things when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
And you're going to identify a lot of ways or items that add energy and take away energy, because there's not really an opportunity for sports. My kids play competitive soccer 5 days a week, and now that's not there, right? So, there's absolutely not a lot of ways for their energy to be expressed in a house.
Yeah.
So, it's keeping them managed around their energy, and then also tapping into our creative side, right? Like, it's really forcing all of us to think outside of the box. What can we do? Can we build a soccer field in the basement, right? And create some drills, even though we're not coaches,
Yeah.
to get them some exercise, right? So if anything, our mindset's going to be completely different when we pull out of this. And I think in a lot of good ways.
Of course.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, my friends, we should wrap this baby up. Kelly,
How do
as
people get in
always,
touch with you, Kelly?
yeah.
Oh, yeah. You can email me, Kelly at integrativecoachingsolutions.ca. You can follow me on Facebook and on Instagram. Please reach out. I can be a resource in your toolbox. We are providing free coaching calls for anybody. If it's an individual, a person, if it's business or personal, it does not matter. We want to be a resource to help people through whatever it is they're experiencing.
That's awesome. I'll go plug, or maybe you can do the same, Kel. How to get a hold of you in the comments. We'll do that afterwards here, but that's take advantage of it. Whoever's listening, take advantage of it. Kelly is a fantastic resource. So as always, Kel, thank you so much for Kelly Manateas. That's Colin Campbell. I'm Gary McGowan on the Realtors Growth Network and the Not So Black and White Real Estate Podcast. Bye for now.
Bye for now, guys.
Bye.